the desire that grows in silence. Before she touched, she had already desired. Before she desired, she had already observed. And before she observed, something deep within her had already awakened. Feminine desire does not begin in the body. It begins in the imagination. It begins in the glance that lingers just long enough to cross a line, in the silence where curiosity begins to breathe. That moment when she notices you even as she pretends not to. A woman feels long before she understands. She studies quietly the way you move, the rhythm of your breathing. She listens to the tone that lives behind your voice. Every gesture, every pause, every flicker of restraint becomes a fragment she stores deep within her mind. And when a man carries presence, the feminine does not respond with words. She reacts with energy, not noise. A woman's desire is not seen, it's sensed. It moves slowly, feeds on absence, and grows in the space between what is said and what is held back. A man's mistake is believing that desire begins with touch. But touch only awakens what her mind had already built in silence long before. She does not desire the body. She desires the mystery, the calm behind your gaze, the meaning behind what you do not say, the tension you carry without explaining. A woman desires what she cannot define, and that is why the predictable man will never be remembered. Because desire is not born from comfort, it's born from uncertainty, from the quiet thrill of not knowing what you feel, yet sensing that somehow you already know what she feels. Female desire is like fire beneath ice. It burns, but it hides. It watches from behind silence. She doesn't reveal, doesn't explain, doesn't chase. She observes. And every absence, every silence, every controlled pause becomes meaning in her world. A woman does not desire with her body. She desires with time, with patience, with the rhythm only she can sense deeply. That's why the impatient man awakens nothing more than shallow curiosity. But the man who moves with calm certainty, who speaks little yet radiates command, that man plants the seed of fascination. And fascination is the first breath of true desire taking form. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? And how old are you? I want to know where the men are who understand that true power is not in the touch, but in the energy that precedes it, the silence that makes the world lean closer. And if you're not yet part of this brotherhood, subscribe. Here we explore what few men dare to study, the female mind and the power of masculine presence. Because once you understand her energy, you stop chasing. You start attracting without a single word spoken. Curiosity teaches her something primal. It shows her that energy can speak without sound, and presence can fill silence more completely than speech ever could. This is where fascination begins to take root, in the tension of the unspoken. The feminine doesn't chase. She observes, collects, and waits. She tests through time, through distance, through subtle signals that most men never notice. But the man who does, he becomes unforgettable, not for what he says, but for what he radiates. If you've ever caught a woman's gaze lingering on you, only for her to look away as if nothing happened, understand this. Curiosity has begun. That glance is the birth of energy. The feminine has taken notice, and your silence has already spoken. That's where everything starts. The glance, the breath, the small moment that doesn't mean much, yet means everything. Because when curiosity wakes, the rest of desire is only a matter of time, and the man who understands this never rushes the process. Interest is dangerous because it grows invisibly. She still appears composed, but her energy betrays her. She'll find reasons to be near you, not consciously, but through the subtle logic of attraction. Every coincidence is secretly deliberate. She texts without reason, laughs more easily, and asks questions that lead nowhere. She isn't gathering facts, she's feeling your rhythm. The more she feels that rhythm, the more her emotional body begins to sync with yours. And when two energies begin to harmonize, desire takes its first real breath. Not through words or plans, but through emotional resonance. She doesn't just like you, she feels you. Every small interaction becomes charged with quiet electricity. Her voice softens when speaking to you. Her eyes hold just a little longer. She unconsciously mirrors your movements, your breathing, even your posture. It's no longer just interest. It's emotional synchronization in real time. At this stage, attraction is alive, though still disguised as friendship or curiosity. But her subconscious already knows. She's begun to crave your presence as comfort and your absence as tension. That is how the feminine begins to bond. She begins to imagine small scenarios, your smile in her thoughts, your voice in her quiet moments. The fantasy grows slowly, but deeply. Interest is no longer about you, it's about the feeling she associates with you. That's where attachment begins. Because women rarely fall for a man himself, they fall for how they feel around him. And if that feeling is calm, safe, and yet charged with mystery, her mind begins to attach emotional meaning to your presence. You become a symbol. The man who understands this never tries to prove his worth. He knows that emotional gravity is built in silence, not persuasion. He doesn't demand attention. He attracts it by staying rooted in his own centered energy. She will test that energy, of course. It's part of her nature. She wants to see if your calm remains under pressure, if your silence still holds weight when she provokes reaction. Because only the unshakable man earns her deep respect. And when respect meets attraction, the emotional chemistry becomes unstoppable. The feminine melts only for what she respects. That's why interest is not just emotional, it's spiritual. It's the recognition of strength in stillness. She begins to soften around that strength. The woman who once held her guard high now feels safe enough to let it fall. She begins to reveal parts of herself, not to impress, but to feel seen. And that's when interest becomes vulnerability. Temptation. Here, thought stops being safe. Until now, everything existed in her mind, silent, controlled, imaginary. But now the body begins to feel what the mind had only dared to picture. Energy moves before words, before logic. The mind tries to resist, but the body speaks another language, a language older than reason. It's the invisible touch, the shiver before contact, the gaze that lingers too long, the breath that changes rhythm for no reason. Desire begins to manifest physically. Control begins to collapse. She knows she's being pulled toward him, yet tries to convince herself she's not. She distracts herself, changes the subject, avoids his eyes. But inside, the awakening is complete. Her mind fights, her body obeys, and when the feminine awakens, no argument or logic can stop it. Temptation is the landscape of divided consciousness. Her heart races, breath shortens, and she whispers to herself, "Why am I feeling this way?" Yet desire does not wait for answers. Most men destroy everything at this stage. The impatient man mistakes her gaze for permission. He rushes, he forces, he breaks the rhythm, and in that moment, her desire collapses. Feminine desire cannot survive haste. It blooms only in tension and restraint. The lucid man, however, understands the power of silence. He doesn't push, grab, or hurry. He waits. Timing becomes his weapon. He knows temptation is not proof of control. It is proof that trust is being born, slowly, quietly, within the energy between them. Temptation is the fire beneath ice. Outside, she appears composed and cold, but inside everything burns. She is torn between fear of losing control and curiosity about surrender. It's in that fragile space that desire becomes unforgettable. Temptation is not the act itself, it's the prelude. Energy peaks precisely because it is still contained. The man who understands this does not need to advance to win. True feminine craving is not for touch in haste, but to be felt with mastery and presence. The energy of masculine calm transforms the moment. The body responds even without action. The feminine feels held by presence rather than possession. Desire deepens because the masculine remains steady, allowing tension to grow naturally. At this level, the man who panics or overreacts destroys the spell. The one who stays grounded becomes magnetic. His calm is irresistible because it contrasts with her internal storm. She feels controlled by nothing but drawn toward everything he represents. Temptation is a balance between wanting and resisting. It's the thrill of the unknown, the magnetic pull of presence against absence. She wants to cross the line, yet she hesitates. And hesitation, when respected, strengthens the emotional connection. Every glance, every pause, every carefully measured word becomes amplified. Desire is no longer abstract, it is kinetic. The feminine energy dances in rhythm with the masculine stillness. The tension is invisible, but it moves mountains inside her. The man who masters temptation knows he doesn't need to touch to be felt. Presence alone is enough. The feminine begins to trust that his calm can contain her fire, that his energy does not demand surrender, but inspires it. Temptation is the gate to full desire. It's where thought and body meet, where control and instinct collide. And the man who remains steady allows the feminine to explore her own energy without fear, to push and pull without breaking the connection. Here, the dance begins. Nothing is given fully, nothing demanded. The feminine craves the masculine not for possession, but for mastery. Desire grows in the tension of restraint, in the measured unfolding of energy that is both thrilling and safe. Control. After temptation, something shifts within her. The fire that once frightened becomes a tool. Her gaze, her smile, her silence, all become instruments. Desire transforms from weakness into art, and she begins to explore the power she now holds. Her approach is measured, every movement intentional, every smile calculated, carrying an invisible message only he can feel. Feminine control is not coldness, it is choreography. She's not manipulating out of malice, but testing the strength and balance of his presence. The game turns into a dance. She provokes, withdraws, observes, repeats. Each move intensifies tension because nothing is fully surrendered. The ordinary man collapses under this pressure, giving in too quickly and handing over both control and respect. The lucid man sees the dance for what it is, a test. He does not react, chase, or compete. He remains grounded, unmoved. His calm energy challenges her subtle games without breaking rhythm. That stillness becomes magnetic, earning fascination and respect simultaneously. Control is dangerous because she is fully aware of her power. She knows what she provokes, and she enjoys the attention she draws. Yet desire is never about dominance. It's about exploring the tension between two forces without losing oneself. The masculine who understands does not compete for control. He allows her energy to unfold while maintaining his center. Her tests reveal her desire, but his calm proves mastery. Respect grows because he embodies stability while she navigates emotional fire. Control is the silent collision of forces. Her desire meets his presence. She tests, he observes, neither loses energy unnecessarily. Her awareness of her own effect becomes thrilling yet contained, a dance of tension, curiosity, and emotional refinement. This level is where desire becomes conscious. She knows she provokes, she knows she desires, and she knows her energy has effect. But the weight of that knowledge is tempered by the man's presence. It is a high-stakes balance of power and patience. A woman desiring while pretending not to is exercising control. Her eyes communicate what her words attempt to hide. The man who sees without reacting gains everything. The one who overreaches loses her intrigue instantly. Control is not about domination. It's about recognition, both of her energy and his own stability. The man who masters himself does not break under her tests. He demonstrates presence without aggression, calm without coldness, mastery without demand. Her respect grows as her attempts to manipulate fail. She realizes her games meet a man who cannot be unbalanced. That realization creates fascination, attraction, and deep desire simultaneously. He becomes a fixed point in her emotional landscape. Every step she takes now is deliberate. Every gesture communicates intention, yet she remains enigmatic. The man who understands does not need to decode her fully. He allows her energy to reveal itself while maintaining his own rhythm. Her control is not manipulation, it's exploration of the tension she feels. Each pull, each retreat, each subtle glance tests his mastery. And every time he remains unmoved, the invisible bond grows stronger. Fascination intensifies. The ordinary man fails here because he confuses compliance with respect. The lucid man understands that respect is earned by maintaining presence, not by responding to every test. This creates a magnetic polarity that draws her ever closer. At this level, desire is no longer playful. It is conscious, deliberate, and deeply aware. She feels the effect of her own energy reflected back at her. The dance of control and mastery creates a tension that is intoxicating, almost impossible to resist.